Hi, Msoul. It's me, Venus Callida. Oh, I'm a little bit under the weather, but over this past month or so, I discovered that I needed to take care of my health in different ways than I've been targeting before. And I wanted to talk about one of the things I've noticed or other people around me have commented in the past, but now I'm taking it more seriously. Sugar withdrawal. I wanted to talk about it because I know as a gamer, I know I'm sitting in front of the computer for a little bit every day, and with work and school, we have to sit so often. And that really sucks when in our younger selves, that's the best healthy bodies we're ever going to have. And we have to spend so much of our life not moving through our bodies, which causes so many health problems. And one of the things I know can happen is we grab drinks and we don't even count that as calories or sugar content and intake. Even if we think we're getting like vitamin water, I thought was such a good idea. Um, Fruit juice, because it's from a fruit, even the most healthy bottle, labels has so much actual added sugar that's not from the natural fruit itself to make things taste even more palatable. And I admit it's really hard that in order to get off pop, I'd get on coffee. And for me, coffee needed sugar. It wasn't palatable. I couldn't drink tea without added sugar, but not coffee. And then I got into cream instead of milk, and that helped. But then in order to get off the coffee, I ended up back on pop. And between all of that, I started getting into fruit juices and then realized, wow, I'm so overloaded. And boba tea, wow, one of those cups of boba tea, that actually was worse than the calories in one slice of pizza. And I miss having pizza. Unless I make it myself, the amount of salt in cultural foods that you find in the frozen freezer section, really it's a salt lick. And it has been so shocking to me in my growth learning about health, the things that I'm chewing on, the things that I'm sipping away at while I'm trying to keep myself awake and motivated, sitting in a chair in front of computer monitors for school, homework, work, pickup jobs, streaming, gaming, which I love, but I'm struggling so much to stay awake to get done everything I want to get done because it's never ending how much there needs to be done, right? That I've been looking at what happens when I try to cut sugar out of my diet to try to help myself be more healthy, knowing that I'm not going to be moving around as much as before I entered high school, when sitting became such a demand. And we're consuming, not even as much as I used to eat in high school. And still I'm getting bigger now, but I'm not playing sports like I did then. And we're living in a chair so much now. We may not want to. So I wanted to talk about the realities of what happens to your body when you're going through a sugar withdrawal and trying to, be more healthy in the choices, knowing that I'm going to sit for periods of the day and knowing that I want to have a drink. I want to grab a snack and munch while I keep myself going. We tend to not even realize how much we're really consuming because we're multitasking. Which is why some people say the best thing to do is if you're going to eat or drink something, do it when you're not watching TV or in front of a computer, because you're just not going to remember that you had it. And it was shocking to me to know just how much I was consuming in the little bits and pieces, right? And the sips and the chips and the dips and all that. So because I know that for me, getting off of white sugar, for example, is as bad as for someone else on certain kinds of drugs, and how bad the withdrawal is and how sick I get when I hit a certain lower weight and then I suddenly get really, really sick and cranky, and then I suddenly go through this illness, I binge, and then I have to start all over again. And I don't know how many of you are going through things like that or realize if you're going through things like that. So I wanted to tell you some of the research I found. I'm just going to chit chat about what sugar withdrawal is, why we have it. I mean, if you ever go through intense cravings for something sweet when you try to be good, intense cravings for other carbohydrates like chips or pasta, I'm totally the pasta girl. I'll admit I just reached for some right now. The irritability and a depressed mood. When everything is pretty much going okay, why do you feel down? If you don't know why, have you been eating less sugar? Have you been trying to diet or change your lifestyle habits with consuming things? And maybe your body's trying to shift away from depending on sugar and trying to use up your stored body fats for your energy, which we want if we're overweight or starting to be. We want a ketose, right? We want to use up the stored body fat. It's there so we have a reserve of energy. But if we're always shoveling, that extra added white sugar, and worse, honestly, I think it's worse, those sugar substitutes, they don't digest through the body as quickly as the real thing, the originals. So, which is why if I'm going to use sugar, I use real sugar. I like stevia. It comes from a green plant, like a mint comes from a green plant. But I mean, white sugar does come from a cane, which is a plant. We could argue that. Maple sugar comes from the sap of a tree. We could argue that. But other things that are supposed to be good for us, like Splenda, that's chlorine added to sugar. Think about that. Do you want to shovel down mouthfuls of pool water? I mean, there's other worse things in that. But chlorine, is that really better for us? I just don't know. So I went looking at what exactly is happening to me when I'm trying to reduce sugar, because I'm trying to have stable blood sugar. And from what I've learned in the past month, just for my own health needs, if we're running on a normal level of sugar in our system, it's only about, a tablespoon, not more. Well, if you grab a can of pop or juice, you're already way above more. So when we're trying to stabilize our blood sugar, protect our health, have our body use up its own resources in the right way, in a healthy way, for healthy reasons, let's find out what's happening to our moods, our body, where we might be thinking we're sick, where we cave into binging. What's going on? Why is it happening? Because when we have this knowledge, we can do something with that knowledge that may help us tweak things. And okay, so first of all, sugar withdrawal symptoms, they last from anywhere from a few days to a few weeks, but it will gradually fade with time. So if you ride it out, you can get past it and you're not going to always suffer. Eating more fiber and protein can help you feel full and reduce sugar cravings. Now, when I think of fiber, I'm thinking lettuce. I know a lot of types of lettuce have a lot of pesticides in them. So spinach is probably one of the best choices of types of lettuce, that nice dark green leaf. And fiber, I also think popcorn. But most popcorn has palm oil in it. You've got to really read the labels. There are certain brands of those blue and purple kernels, those, what do they call them? Pilgrim or Quaker type kernels. But again, you've got to read the labels, because if it's got palm oil or corn syrup, you've got to stay away from it. And then I also learned to read labels in generals. If you take the number of carbs it says it has on the label, divide it by the amount of fiber, you have to have a number that's at 5 or under 5. The same with sodium. Believe it or not, if you're dealing with or wanting to protect yourself from high blood pressure, if you know that's something in your family or you're dealing with, that number for sodium on a label has to be 5 or under. And I know that's hard to find. You guys have heard me talk all about it when I started making all my own waters. I started adding ice cubes, making crushed ice, turning everything into a slushy, so that I was diluting everything and making sure I had more water to balance off anything else I was ingesting so that I'd be healthier. And honestly, it has worked. I am living proof that you can go through a bad crisis, an accident, surgeries, and you may fall apart a bit inside and out and, gain a lot of weight you shouldn't have, and then get it off. It's slow. It takes time. It takes a couple of years to do it, but you can do it. And I started the whole thing by drinking more water than anything else. Now, that includes tea. That includes instant coffee, but you've got to try to not add the sugar. Honey, I think, is okay, but I think they'll tell you to moderate it. But what do? I try to put berries, the real fruit, not the fruit juices made in factories, when I want to have a fruit. And you can float different pieces of fruit in your teas, and then I eat them after. But different things, even restaurants do that just to make extra money on their teacups. But you can get through it if this is something for a lifestyle choice or a detox you want to do naturally. Of course, everything you do, please ask your doctors if you have benefits to get a nutritionist or naturopath to help you out, so that it's done in a responsible way. But I'm just a regular person who's on this life journey because I want to take back my health. I want to preserve my youth. I want to preserve years of life that you lose when you just give up. And I don't want you to give up. I'm here and start streaming so that you have a real life example in front of you that could say, I did it myself, and I did it without being a scientist or a rich person. Because it's hard to throw your money at things to consistently have the best products. But it really does come down to reading those labels. If someone sort of teaches you how, I kind of gave you a tip just there, what's helping me. And confirmed, I've done it, 35 pounds in a year. And now I'm working on, tightening up everything and regaining muscle and taking control of, my blood sugars and my sodium levels, my blood pressure. I'm paying attention because I really want to protect my life. And I hope you choose that for you too. And I'm just saying, it does take time. You can have binges, you can falter, but you can get back. Every day you wake up, you can start again. And just forgive yourself and move on. Okay, so you were really hungry that day? All right, you had to binge. Now I'm going to start over. Because I choose me and I hope you choose you. All right? I'm choosing you for you. So just do what I say. No, seriously though. But you really have to be careful. And I could go into an entire corner store. And other than water, there might be 1 to 2 other things I could buy there. And everything else you cannot. You just cannot. There's so little that we can actually buy out there. And you can't go through drive-through windows anymore. You really can't. I know it's hard when you're tired on the road. And at the end of the day, you don't want to cook. But having 1 day a week that you have time for yourself to prep or get someone to do it for you, to hard boil some eggs in advance and stuff like that. Just 1 day, a couple hours in the kitchen, 1 day a week, and then portion it all out. Even portion out, which if you make something, freeze some of it right away. Things like that can help as tips, because using the real foods, cooking for yourself, really is the cleanest thing. I mean, have you watched Hell's Kitchen? Have you watched Hotel Nightmares? Have you seen Bar Rescue? It's gross out there. Stay home, eat for yourself. Okay, now that I've said that. Getting regular exercise can lessen your sugar cravings and help manage withdrawal symptoms. Look, if you're getting hangry and cranky, go for that walk, go for that run. I'll be honest, I have enough willpower that I can go to a general store, smell the chocolate, and then look at the price and say, I'm not paying to put you on my thighs. I'm not paying to put you on my butt. I'm not paying to put you on my gut. No, but I'll smell it it takes me about 5 minutes. Now, some people will gain weight by doing that because the saliva you build up is going to go down into your stomach. You can gain up to 5 pounds in saliva because of what you smell, making you feel hungry. But anyways, you could go smell flowers for real. I'll walk through a store just to stop, and I'll lean over, smell the flowers. I smell the fruit, and I walk away. But getting regular exercise, I found, helps because the stomach and the bowels and everything, all your organs in there, they need a little bit of a massage. They say, riding a horse, that gives your organs a massage. Same thing for doing a little jog, skipping with a skipping rope, using the lemon squeezy. I don't care how old I am. That was one of the best toys I ever had. Between that and my skipping rope, I still do it. Boxers do it, and they're hot guys. So, skip if you can. I've got a mini trampoline now. I don't do full out jumping anymore because I do have dizzy spells as I'm learning to regulate my blood sugars and my blood pressure and all that. But again, sodium under 5, carbs divided by fiber under 5. Try not to do sugar additives. All that fake stuff doesn't help. Sugar, try to reduce it. There's 2 different ways you could do it: by slowly lowering the levels of how much it is to just get used to the choice you're making, or cold turkey. I'm the person that has to do a cold turkey, and then it's terrible when I binge. But the times that I binge are much, much less than it used to be. And now I'm learning I can literally not add sugar to anything, but to not eat something else that impacts me the way a sugar does, like a bread, my pasta. That's cultural food. That really hurts. That really sucks. It's not that I'm never going to eat it again or make it again, but now it's more of a special occasion thing for special times of year when I know I'm going to eat with my family, Christmas, Easter, New Year's, birthday parties. but not every day and not every week. I mean, I grew up having it 7 days a week, but it's not something that my body can process like it used to. And listen, we're not going out into the fields and working with our body all day until the sun goes down like our grandparents did. So we're just not going to digest and process it the same. And where does that energy go? When you're eating and drinking a lot of stuff, that sugar is an energy, right? Well, there's nowhere to put it except on your body in visceral fat. And that, especially if you're a person that gains in the stomach area, you've got to be so careful. Because I've learned that I'm working on trying to get the inches off of my waist. And I'll be honest, if it hadn't been for certain health issues hitting me by surprise, not knowing it was even in my family, I wouldn't have the shape that I'm in right now. And if you're a shorter person, there's less bone structure to spread it all out on evenly. So we got to be careful. And I'm not trying to nag anyone. I'm trying to share what I've been learning for me in case it helps someone out there that might be like me. So in trying to cut back on sugar, we're not talking about the sugar that's naturally in fruits and vegetables. They're healthy for us. They'll say everything in moderation, but they're healthier for us. And if you can figure out the ones that have more fiber, like a pear or an apple or an orange, have more fiber than other choices. Berries are said to be really, really good. I've been adding berries to Greek yogurt, the unsugared, unflavored kind. I know that's something to get used to of a flavor, but it seems to be working for me. I've always loved yogurt, but I found out the ones that I love, it's like eating a candy bar. There's so much sugar in it. That's why we love it so much. So trying to get used to other things. But the longer you're off of sugar, the more you can taste the subtle differences in the different fruits and vegetables and smell it and enjoy it and savor it. I've always been able to, but you have even more sensitivity to it when you're not dependent on added like white sugar powder all the time. All right? Now, symptoms to look out for and to know if you're going through it, let me tell you, because I didn't realize this could be part of it. And it was surprising, but knowing what's going on, I could say to myself, okay, this is what you're going on with right now, and then here's what we can do about it. So definitely my body has a huge reaction to sugar withdrawals, and I have to face it, because if I cave in to comfort myself with what I've done in the past, things will only get worse. So I need to know, I need that knowledge so that I can recognize it consciously and then action that with something that's supposed to help. Okay? So some of the things I've learned, you can go through mental and physical withdrawal symptoms. I didn't realize that. I knew about I'm fat, I'm not fat, I'm fat, I'm not fat to match with what I've been binging. But I didn't know that anxiety and irritability can be experiences caused by sugar withdrawals. Changes in your sleep patterns could be sugar withdrawals. And I know I've always struggled with sleep. Depressed mood. Look, I could say myself all my blessings. Why am I so down? Why am I so difficulty concentrating? Dizziness and lightheadedness, definitely I go through that. The fatigue or nausea. I actually go through the nausea. Since I have like insomnia kind of, the fatigue is something I definitely feel, and I thought that was because of feeling down, but that also, all of that is part of sugar withdrawal. And I hope no other medical cause has been found, so we gotta work on this. But all these things they do, you can get past it if you keep to your program, if you keep to your progress. Intense sugar cravings could just amp up, like I've got to have it. So that's when I try to drink a lot of water, go for a walk or a nap with some fresh air, with the window cracked open, right? Because I find that I get headaches as well as the nausea because my body's just reeling. And if I cave in and feed myself a comfort food that's full of sugar or carbs without any protein to balance it, I'm going to regret that later because it'll just prolong the process and you're starting over again after all the hard work. And here's the kicker. the craving of carbs. I thought because I was eating pasta, I'm fine. I don't crave the potato chips because I have a iodine sensitivity, but I know a lot of people that reach for potato chips as their go-to snack. Are you trying to get off of sugar, and do you find that you're having more salty foods? One thing I note, a lot of my friends who prefer salt over sugar cravings, they go for those seaweed snacks. I don't know anything about the health of those, but I know a lot of people that have pretty good figures, and that's part of their cultural food, to have these salty seaweed snacks, sneeweed. But take these cravings and these symptoms seriously, because actually I found out why we have such hard reactions, why it's so hard to get off of sugar. And I know my mom's called it the worst kind of like drug addiction. And I thought, well, that's going really far to say that. But I found out it's actually true. And I'll tell you why I say that. So I found verywellmind.com, and they talk about why it is. So what you want to try not to do when you're going through sugar withdrawal is to binge eat, because if you end up binge eating and you cave in, you may actually intake more than you would normally have eaten, and then you're just throwing your body into a whole other kind of sugar shock, right? And then it becomes a vicious cycle. And you don't want to be sugar dependent. And so you go through feelings of guilt and shame when you cave in, depression and anger with yourself. And it's hard when other people in the same household living with you don't want to follow the same steps you're trying to take for you, because it's really hard to have that willpower by yourself. And especially if they're pressuring you to cave in. That doesn't help either. Me being short, I just ask people to put things on the taller shelves because I have too much pride to climb to get the sugar. I make myself bigger. So don't. When you eat the sugar, you're getting hit with endorphins. Those are chemicals. That's biological stuff. And the endorphins make you feel better while you're eating it, but they don't stick around for very long. And then you've now done something to your body that's hurting your body. So why does the sugar withdrawal occur? Well, they can be really intense. And to understand why they happen, you have to know how sugar affects your body. So basically, if we call it caveman days, they looked for the high sugar content things to eat, so that in periods of where others are starving, where there's a drought, where there's a flood, you can't find food, it's winter, nothing's growing, okay? There's periods of scarcity. And so the brain rewarded the survival instinct by releasing feel-good neurotransmitters, and that's the brain's chemical messenger. And there are billions of these molecules in your mind sending messages through your nervous system, helping you to think, move, and breathe. They also affect your mood. So how sugar affects your brain? Sugar triggers the release of endorphins in your brain, and they're a natural opioid. So when my mom used to say sugar is my drug addiction, that's the drug. We need to cut it out of our food, out of society's food. It is making and keeping us sick, that's for sure. But these natural opioids usually reduce pain after an injury or boost your happiness factor after you exercise. So it's a reward to try to help you cope and get through. So sugar also triggers a release of dopamine. This is a neurotransmitter linked to your cravings. And when they studied animals that were going through a sugar withdrawal, that it mirrored withdrawal from other drugs like cocaine and heroin. Now hear that. In these studies they found that sugar withdrawal, it looks like what people go through when they're withdrawing from cocaine or heroin. But the animals seem to be more prone to sugar addiction than humans are. So if we're dealing with it, that's a heavy thing to deal with. That is difficult to overcome. We can do it. It'll take some time, but know that you're going to go through your body kind of revolting. You've got to have the willpower to stick it through. And what they also found in rats that they addicted to cocaine, I hate what we do to animals to find out what's good or bad for us, but they found this out. If a rat that was made addicted to cocaine was given a choice between having more cocaine or sugar, they primarily chose sugar. That's how much it affects us. Addictive drugs like heroin and cocaine produce a high because they're either masquerading as neurotransmitters or they prompt the nervous system to release a flood of them. This changes in the brain chemistry, leading to a dependence, withdrawal, and addiction. So, whether or not we can become addicted to or physically dependent on sugar depends a lot on the definition of addiction being used. But it does look like in many studies that people experience withdrawal-like symptoms when they give sugar up. That's why it's difficult. That's why you've got to have a mindset and a goal. Better if you have a support system around you, so that you can control, the groceries coming in and your choices for what you make at home, what's readily available. Hence, for me, as you guys know, I make a lot of jugs of water. I make it with ice cubes. I make it with crushed ice. I make them into slushies. I put in lime juice, lemon juice, grapefruit juice, sometimes cherry juice, strawberry juice, watermelon juice. I've tried it with herbs and mint sprigs. And what else have I done? I've tried it with basil. I've tried it with rosemary. To just try different things. Cucumbers, I've tried it with cucumbers and mint. So I've mixed different things together. And you can find some of my recipes for these in other episodes under Riddle Me Din Din. And self-care with V and Msoul. But just to say, I know that this is a struggle. It's a lifelong struggle because I don't stay off it forever. And at some point, if I give in, I have to start all over again. But at least now I'm armed with better understanding of what's going on with my body, what to expect, to be ready for it, to know what to do about it when it happens. Now, there are healthy and natural sugars versus added sugars. One of the things they told us to not use is that corn syrup stuff. We know it tastes amazing and that's what makes butter tarts so good, but that might be the number one thing to cut. Things with that inside of its ingredients would be helping. So there are sugars in many of the healthy foods we eat, like fruit, bread, and dairy products. And so when you talk about sugar from a health perspective, they're usually talking about the added refined sugars, so that things added to bread and candy and soda. And some people call soda liquid death because it's just so super saturated with sugars. And sometimes as many as 7 different kinds of salt by names we don't even recognize and probably can't pronounce off the tin. If you can't say it, it's probably good not to put it in your body. That's just another thing I've heard. But it seems to be right so far. Well, look. And in this article, it does say to try to avoid table sugar, high fructose corn syrup, and white flour. And I know recently I've been trying to do some recipes with other kinds of flour. What did I get recently? Bran flour, flax flour. Anyways, there's different kinds of almond flour. There's all sorts of different kinds that we can pick from now. They're in smaller packages, and I think that's also because they're more expensive, pound for pound, but better for your body, better for your health. It's an investment. I learned, and my dad talked about this with me, we can't go cheap on food anymore. I know we want to make the dollar stretch, but some of that cheaper stuff really has all this stuff in it that makes us ill. And I know it's like a filler, right? And if we get used to a little bit less, maybe do a few more shops closer together. I watch certain people do that so that you get the fresh thing while it's fresh, then you go again. Some people like to do the bulk for a month at a time, and I get that. But if you could invest in better options, better choices, better cuts, and those of us who know someone who cooks very well, that could be helpful too. But anyhow, so sugar causes the release of endorphins in the brain. They're a natural opioid, and body cravings to these extra opioids cause withdrawal when we stop adding them to our body. So sugar causes releases of dopamine, and that plays a role in the habit formation of binging on sweet, sugary things. And when they're the added sugars, really we think we're making ourselves feel better in the moment, making ourselves sicker in the long run. Think of our organs. They can't come out and tell us, and we can't look in through a window to see that they're okay. So many people will try to eliminate sugar from their diet completely. Others will do something called the ketogenic diet, where you try to make sure that sugar is less than 10% of your daily calories from carbs, which has to be less than 20 grams. And they don't add any other sources of sugar to their body. Now, without the sugar, there's cells in your body, they begin to quote-unquote starve. So that will force your body, if you're not adding extra sugars in your diet, to use the fat stored as an alternative fuel. And that's called ketosing. That's when you start burning the fat, the visceral fat, off of your body. Now, if your waist has been gaining, that's probably wrapped around your organs. We want to get it off to protect ourselves. We want to get our waist lines down. And I'm in that process right now. So what are the things that happen when you start ketosing? These are other things that make it uncomfortable to withdraw from sugar. And I can guarantee bad breath, constipation, fatigue and headaches. Yes, for all of those. For me, for sure. Trouble sleeping, absolutely. They say kidney stones can be a result because your body's trying to flush itself and process the stored fats. And that becomes serious because if they're tiny, they can get lodged in your bile duct and clog your food from going into your stomach, and you could die from that. I almost did before you guys met me. So confirmed. Where everything went wrong for me started with me still being an active person, an active kid who is still competitive dancing, still playing competitive sports, and still this happened. Because even though for some of us we look like we're perfectly fit because we're slim or whatever, if you're not eating the right choices of foods, as you get older, it is going to pay you back. Because it's what's in there with your organs. Upset stomach. So basically a lot of these symptoms, which will, if we go down a rabbit hole online, it looks like a flu. It looks like you've got the flu. And these symptoms typically do go away on their own after about a week. If you can ride this out for a week, you're winning. But it does take time for your body to adjust to its new reality and start burning off all that excess energy you've been storing under your skin. Always, though, before you start doing any kind of low-carb or ketogenic diet, make sure you talk to your doctor, because this can be dangerous. And remember, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a regular person that's going through this journey, and I'm just sharing whatever information has helped me or that I'm learning right now as I talk to you. They always say set certain goals. Something reasonable, something doable, something actionable right now. So while some people like me choose the cold turkey method, for a lot more people it might be practical just to cut certain things off at a time, get used to it, and then start cutting other things off to reduce your sugary intake. Like, easy to pick, swap out your sugary snacks for foods that are higher in protein, fats, and whole grains. Stop drinking the high sugar sodas and any kind of sugary beverage, like even juice. I hate to say it because I miss orange juice so much. But replace them with water and other low sugar drinks. I found even if I take a real orange, put the slices in a water and infuse it, or eating the real fruit as opposed to the fruit juice made in the factory, is still a better option. Eating the balanced meals, you can go online to find your country's balanced meal pyramid or circle or whatever they're using, rainbow. Eat the rainbow. All the natural foods of all the colors of the rainbow will be good for you. Getting enough sleep. I struggle with this one because when doctors tell me, you must sleep for this many hours. Well, I'm sorry, I'll tell my body not to wake up when it wants to. That'll work, because I haven't thought of that before. So that one's a hard one. But in some of my episodes, I've talked about setting a bedtime routine or a nighttime routine, and I started the Tuck In and Chill show on Fridays, though I used to do it much later, but I'm not as much as a late owl as I used to be. As I've made some changes and I made some gains, I do not want to fight feeling sleepy if I'm sleepy. So my Tuck In and Chill show has been starting earlier and earlier. Maybe it's too early for what it was supposed to be, but it's just a part of a bedtime routine. I know usually young people, they're going to be going out to a club or a party or something, but yeah, take me with you. But really, if you don't have a ritual, if you don't have something that helps signal to your brain, I'm going to stop doing ABC now. I'm going to shut off the phone and not take calls that could be stressful now. I'm going to drink the thing that makes me feel cozy and cushy and sleepy now. Like, you get that ritual going. Hopefully some of my shows can help you with that. To help you get more sleep, or if you can't get full sleep, that you're rested for a period of time on a regular schedule will help. I know I hate that. I hate following rules, but the regular, seeing my cues, getting to learn them, and following with them, cooperating with when I think I feel sleepy, getting that nap in is better than if I don't. Now, I know I mentioned it, but engaging in physical activity, regular physical activity every day, we're seeing a lot of things like Tai Chi, walking. I don't understand how that's different from walking. And I know a lot of like Norwegian and Swedish people that walk with those ski poles in their hands all year while they're walking through a forest. But even if you just do like 9 minutes of walking every day, 10 minutes of walking every day, just start with that until you're ready to do something more. I'm going to tell you very honestly, there's a beautiful young woman that I knew, and she went through a hard time and she gained a bunch of weight, but then she was very serious about losing that weight and was so very positive about losing weight quickly so she could meet someone, get married, have kids, all those dreams that we have. But she was so determined and so positive, but she didn't consult with a doctor to watch. She hadn't been playing sports for a couple of years, and so it had been a while. And so her body basically, she's like, well, I used to run track, I used to do this, that. And so she would hit hard for an hour every day, sweating like crazy, feeling dizzy, drinking water, saying, I can do it, I can do it. But because the body hadn't been at that level for years, her body went into shock. She ended up in the hospital, and worse happened from that. So I don't want that to be you. So again, I'm not a doctor, but I am saying, as a person who knew a person who went through it, and who knows firsthand from myself that, it's been a few years since I skated. Oh my God, I have to relearn how to skate. It's been a few years since I downhill skied. My God, I have to get the feel for this again. I can't just, my brain remembers me doing it, but my body has suddenly reminded me, hello, you have not done this in a while, and we don't have the same point of balance anymore. Carrying a lot more weight on these bones and joints now. You don't want to shock your heart. You don't want to shock your organs. And if your lungs are struggling for oxygen, then your heart and lungs are both being damaged for not enough oxygen to sustain. So, again, I'm not a doctor, but just to say what I've learned is you start slow and you build yourself up. For me, it takes about a month to get myself back into the position to do what I used to do for an hour a day. So I'm not going to fight it. But what I will do, because I'm not trying to be lazy, is every hour for 15 minutes, get up and move around. Don't just sit there. I know it's hard when you have office jobs. I know it's hard when you're going to school and you must sit for periods of time. But then as soon as you can, get up and have a walk. Go to the bathroom, have a stretch, get a drink of water, refill your water bottle, whatever you can do to go up, get a walk. Get a walk in for 10 minutes at a time, a few times a day, just to get started. Because believe me, Once you're walking a half an hour a day, if you walk to school and back, that's so much better for you. If you can walk to the store and back, earn those calories you know you're going to be eating. But you've earned them. Because if you're just sitting there and mindlessly munching because you're focused on your work, you're not going to realize just how much you've actually put into your system. And your body, your lungs, your heart needs to be able to carry all that weight. And we want to do it without shocking ourselves, making things worse. We want to do it responsibly. And again, check with your doctors about what the best plan is. Get a fitness trainer, or again, if you've got the resources or the benefits, check with a nutritionist, check with a naturopath. Have the doctor do some blood tests. Make sure you're okay. And eat for your organs too. If you know that there's an organ that's struggling, if you look up what to eat to help that organ, you can find out so much online. I know broccoli and cauliflower are magic vegetables. They've got a lot in there. So does parsley, actually. So if that's in your herb, you can have parsley water. It's not sweet, it's savory. But I find having different flavors makes me appreciate the ones I love the most and helps me with my cravings too, because it's something different. So the mind's going, ooh, what's that? That's different. Your tongue may not approve, but your stomach might just settle down. Parsley water and basil water, rosemary water, they're not to the sweet side. So those of you who don't have a sweet tooth, you have the savory or the salty tooth, if that's such a thing, you might enjoy exploring herbal waters. And I always advocate the fancy schmancy spa waters while I'm gaming. Because if you know you're not going to be up burning very much calories off, then at least have something healthy that will help your organs and be your own friend while you're sitting still. All right. Now, tips for successful sugar withdrawal. This is important. It's not going to be too long term. They say that it passes relatively quickly, depending on your body type and your history with sugar in your family. Maybe a few days to a couple of weeks. But you've got to sustain it after you've made it through. And some of the tips that I'm seeing here is the key to changing eating patterns is to find something we can live with long term. For example, I know I'm not going to give up lasagna forever. But if I have some kind of pasta with tomato sauce once a month, maybe I'll use pestos or butter sauces with garlic once a week. Maybe that could be my cheat day. Do we need to call it a cheat day? Just my day for my cultural foods. There's lots of ways my culture makes those foods. It's just that our region did it a certain way. And that's not helping me if I don't get up and work physical labor from sun up to sundown like my grandparents did. They burnt it off. But me, I'm not burning it off sitting in front of a computer. So what else can I do? You want to make sure that your plan is not so drastic that you feel the need to binge. If you add a lot of lean proteins to your diet, whole grains, fruits, flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, vegetables, to help sustain a healthy weight while your body gets all the nutrients it needs. You really need the nutrition because you don't want to actually be starving yourself. Try to stay away from pre-made foods from the freezer section. It's okay, like when they flash freeze real, like avocados and berries and vegetables, just take a look at that sodium. Should be between 0 and 5. Those are good for you. But when you're getting things from a can, after my almost losing my life to poison water up in the north, I promised I'd never eat from a can again unless I was desperate. And I might keep a can or two of something around for those days where maybe snowed in or, God forbid, another kind of COVID happens, but I'm not going to rely on it. The frozen fruits and vegetables, I have a trust in that. They haven't hurt me yet. But things are as most natural and fresh as possible. Would always be better. Processed food are not only packed with added sugars and the wrong kind of oils like palm oil and that corn syrup. We have to stay away from it. That eliminates a lot of what you're probably buying. Probably eliminates most of what's already in your cupboards. But you can switch out for other brands. Maybe a little less in quantity, maybe a little bit more money, but it's an investment in your health for your long-term life and quality of life. I want you to enjoy the life that you're having. Be as mobile as possible for as long as you can be. That's important. They're saying high fiber foods like berries, oranges, apples. Ooh, I didn't steer you wrong there, guys. And I also know pears are good for fiber in their diet too. This can satisfy your urge for something sweet. And you can throw any kind of berry on Greek yogurt. I know Greek yogurt will not be most people's favorite thing if you're not used to it. But if I found putting blueberries on it, that nice burst of flavor when I eat, I can tolerate it. And if I put a little bit of granola in there, put some flax seeds in there, I can tolerate it. I still, for the life of me, as much as they say chia seeds are wonderful, I just don't like them. I don't like chia seeds. I tried the chia pudding. I tried that. It wasn't bad. It's not my favorite thing. I actually would rather have the Greek yogurt with berries. If I could put berries on it, I would drizzle it with honey. But right now I'm not playing with honey because I want to make sure that I've got a stable situation. But I did grow up on real honey because my family were beef farmers. So I miss it. I have it, but I'm just holding off on it just a little bit until I know I'm in a better position and weight class. I'm very close to my next goal, which you guys have been with me for all along. So thanks, and I hope it's helping you too. Now, if you struggle with food or binge eating or eating disorders, please make sure you're always going to a counselor or a doctor, in addition to peer-to-peer support groups. There's a Food Addicts Anonymous, FAA, and Overeaters Anonymous. I don't know if that would be your thing, but I found talking to specialists, especially if it's free, is helpful. Yeah. Is there anything else I can tell you? Well, you know what? It's not your imagination if it's hard to do. It's not your imagination if you're getting cranky or depressed when you're trying to do it. It's not your imagination if your stomach is revolting and you feel gross, nausea, vomiting, constipation. But don't give in to it. You've got to win this. Find the alternatives that are workable for you. If you can't eliminate everything, just look at what you would be willing to swap out, and hopefully everyone in the household, all the roommates, they're gonna go in with you, or everybody get your own lockable fridge. Have your own mini fridge with your own go-to stuff. So have hope and hang in there. If you're determined and you've got your goals, I would even write them on a vision board or something so you could say it as a mantra. Why are you doing this? But if you think it is an addiction, get professional support, because detoxes are challenging. And these detoxes, as we've already heard, are as challenging as withdrawing from some drugs like cocaine and heroin. That's a big deal. That's big stuff. That's serious. So take your own feelings seriously. Take your needs seriously. Get that support. Don't be afraid to ask your doctor, or get in touch with whatever benefits program you might have access to, or any free support groups out there to talk it through. Okay. So here's a scary part that I'm seeing in recover.org. They say over time, with increased dopamine releases as your brain's reward system from all the sugar intake, this could lead to chronic neurochemical changes in the brain, causing you to be reliant on the high sugar intake for daily functioning. This kind of like sounds like when people say they've got to get their caffeine fix first thing in the morning. And I want to tell you this. I read earlier this year, eating one apple will give you the same high as drinking a cup of coffee with 2 sugars. I want to confirm that was true. And I didn't have any like leaky gut or angry gut or feeling like my gut was being corroded from eating an apple compared to when I drink coffee, realistically. And I had the same high. I had a clarity of mind. I felt better 20 and 30 minutes after eating the apple compared to having that coffee or that caffeine hit first thing in the morning. So I want to verify, for me, it's true, it worked. And all of these symptoms you go through in the withdrawal is to try to urge you or to push you to binge and put it back in your body. You've got to overcome it. You need that physical, emotional, mental strength to know that these physical and mental health symptoms can be gotten through and reduce and lessen over time the longer you're steadfast. So, intense cravings, irritability, fatigue, poor concentration, anxiety, and mood changes. And there's a lot of other symptoms. They include headaches, nausea, poor sleep. Other people may even have some unusual symptoms. Now, there's lots of reasons on this website why this all happens so that you can understand what's happening in your body. But basically, those bursts of energy or those energy highs are pushing the dopamine through your brain. It's a happy, happy time. But then you crash really bad too once you burned it up. So different approaches to sugar detoxes. What works and what to avoid. There's two main ways, the cold turkey and the gradual reduction. Again, consult your doctors, especially if you have other health issues that are known, or to get a blood test before you start to make sure there's nothing unknown that you have to deal with first. So, gradual reduction, some say withdrawal symptoms will be milder, allowing more positive habits to develop slowly in your eating and drinking choices, which would make an increased chance of long-term success. Cold turkey is more me. I've got to do it. I need to do it. I need to make some changes fast for my overall organ health and for my blood sugars and my blood pressures and everything. Cold turkey can more likely lead to a likelihood of binge eating once the detox phase ends. But in my case, I've got real reasons why I can't. If I divert from what I have to do just a little bit, I spike right away. And I can go into spikes and crashes, multiple times in every hour, based on if I cheat just a little. So because I have all sorts of monitors and patches and things tracking everything, to see that it doesn't take more than a minute or two for whatever I've ingested to actually show up in my bloodstream on other parts of my body that aren't even close to my mouth. It amazes me. It's fascinating. But I guess I'm kind of treating it like a science project too. It's that kind of a brain that I really do have a diary that is 2 notebooks full already. And I only just started doing this a month ago because I had to. Not because I just thought, la la la, I'll do it. I have been mindful about certain things like increasing water, drinking better, choosing healthier snacks if I'm going to eat in front of the computer because I know I'm spending that time, but then being mindful to go out and exercise around that time. And we know that sometimes it just doesn't happen because you're too tired, it's cold, whatever it is, there's a wolf outside, I don't know, whatever it is, depending on where you're living in the world. Things aren't perfect, but I don't want to binge. So I don't buy this stuff. For me, the harder part is when you go to families' houses for get-togethers like holidays, religious gatherings, an event in the family. You don't have the support. I don't have the support. You don't have the support. And if they're going to be offended by us bringing something we know we can eat, that's even worse. So I tried to do the fasting thing so that I knew there would be some damage done on that day. But I thought that if I fasted a couple days before and a day after, that I could, in the overall, balance it all out. But it actually just kick-started cravings again. So I really think that thing should be sort of potluck so everyone knows there's something there that's safe for them. Try to talk people into that as much as you can. Or host it yourself and say, look, it's going to be a different kind of an evening. Just let people know in advance. And if they want to bring a potluck for themselves, but don't look at it. Just don't smell it even. But effective ways to manage the sugar withdrawals, and I know I'm doing at least part of this. Staying hydrated. Avoid all the sweetened drinks. because they trigger the sugar cravings. I find that even the fake, like the Coke Zero or the things that are diet colas, they're worse because they're made with the fake stuff that mimics the sugar. That stays in your body longer. The body doesn't process it out the same. Now, other people would say, no, it works for me. Everybody's body's different. Our body chemistries are different. Our history with food is different within our families and cultures and all that. Our biochemistry is different, everybody, even if you're from the same parents. So, I mean, do what you trust, what's working for you, of course. And I'm just going to keep saying, I'm not a doctor, just consult your doctors. Anyhow, moving on. Getting plenty of sleep. I find this difficult, but I am not finding difficult creating a sleep routine that takes an hour or so just to say, I'm gearing down now. I'm not going to be on the computer now. I'm not going to take phone calls from this time until it's morning, and because I don't want to be riled up before it's time to sleep, right? That part of it is more restful, is helping me fall asleep sooner than I used to. So it's not, again, not perfect, but I'm working on it, and I'm seeing gains over time. Eating regularly, small meals that include some protein and healthy fats, so that your body still has enough energy to keep it going. It helps ease the sugar cravings because really that's the energy source, right? So we're trying to teach our bodies to use other things as the energy source. And finally, physical activity. You know, it hasn't hurt me to go out for a walk before I try to do my bedtime routines and the turn down activities. First thing in the morning, one of the health people that I've been talking to said, you know, when you first wake up, don't eat right away. Go for the walk then. Do 10 minutes then. And then before you go to sleep, right before you think you're going to go to sleep, do 10 minutes then. Go for a walk. That's it. That's just a starting point, because the reward system being fed or stimulated by the sugar is also fed and stimulated by physical activity. So you're trying to swap it out. We're trying to replace it with something that our ancestors have been doing forever. If you've got nothing to do, walk. If you've got a furry animal that has a leash, walk with it. Borrow your neighbor's and walk with that one. I did that a couple of times. Things that you can do. And if you can't physically walk per se, but you can do upper arm stuff, neck stuff, eye exercises for those of us who have sore eyes and migraines and stuff, tracking exercises for your vision. Just do something physical for yourself. Sing. Massage those lungs. Get those insides going. Sing and laugh out loud. Exercise everything. If you can't ride a horse, that's another way to jiggle it all in there. Give it a bit of a massage. Always remember, seek help from, especially if you're feeling physical health effects, mood health effects, to get better food choice ideas, supplement ideas. Just consult whatever kind of medical, behavioral therapy, psychotherapy, nutritionists, naturopath. Some people have benefits to access these things, but they don't. I hope that you just feel empowered to do it. I know that not every culture looks fondly on going to doctors for things like this, but we've got it. We should use it, because any help might be the thing that tells us something that makes sense to us or gives us an idea we wouldn't have thought of coming from what we come from, and then it's the thing that works for you. You never know what it's going to be. It may not be what you expect. There's actually 12-step programs out there to help with a sugar addiction. And it's from a company called Food Addicts. I know that doesn't feel nice to ascribe to something called that. But hey, look, I'm a foodie. I love food. Maybe too much. But I might check into that program. I don't know if it's free. But if it can help me know better choices and I discover a recipe for something I really like and enjoy, and I can add that into my routine, hey, I'm only gaining there. Play on words. There's also something called Sugar and Carbs Anonymous. And you know what, for me, where I was saying I'm not adding sugar, but I didn't realize how much in breads and pastas. I'm not a rice person, but those are all carbs, which is all processed into body sugars inside our bodies, hitting off those highs. And they follow the same format as Alcoholics Anonymous. Listen, if these cause the same kind of withdrawal symptoms as coming off of some drugs out there, my goodness, get that support and don't feel bad about it. Help protect your own health. And especially if we're going to be gaming together, I want to know we're going to be in it for a long time, enjoying our time, not hurting ourselves while we're at the gaming stations. I mean, I have been all month on about having that spacation self-care zone around our gaming area. And I really mean it. I'm really trying to do things like I've got my water. Today I've got apricots. I don't know if you can hear this, but there's a pit. Apricots. Apricots also have lots of iron in them. Eating the real fruit, not the juice. I used to drink all the juices and not realize how much added sugars were in there. So I'm making the better choice. I'm not going to completely cut off a fruit that I love, but I'm going to eat the real fruit once in a blue moon. It's still there, so my brain's not saying anything that's going to trigger me into an angry binge. Finally, to help you, to support you with sugar withdrawal and detox, you need a supportive social network of family and friends. I know I'm not going to get that in the real world, face to face. I'm being honest. In order not to make the wrong food choices, I cannot go out for food with my friends, and I cannot join my family for a family meal around a holiday or religious event or a family milestone and not only be tempted but surrounded by everything I should not eat if I'm going to preserve my health. Those are the facts. Nobody's meaning anything malicious by it. And cultural foods are cultural foods for whatever reason. Those are our foods. But, okay, there are comfort foods. They used to be. But we've got to make other choices to protect our health sometimes. And for that, it means I don't go to as many events. It means I don't meet people in a restaurant or a coffee shop anymore. I know that was hard to resist when that was a thing for my age group to do, in order to meet people, to schmooze and to pick up and all that. But it really, if I want to protect myself and I know what my willpower versus temptation levels are, I simply have to stay home and make my own food. That's not going to work for everyone, especially if I want to meet someone, I can't. But what I can do for a supportive social network, really, because it's not going to come from my friends and family. It's probably that way for a lot of you, especially if you live in the same house. You may want something so badly for your own health, but no one else around you is going to go for that. And then you're surrounded by too much temptation and nobody helping. Well, what I did instead was built a network of medical people to talk to. I got myself some benefits, luckily, right now. So I looked through those benefits to find out every possible thing I could visit at least once, for at least one time, find out how many sessions I could have with them, if it could anyway help me with my needs, my health needs, any kind of health needs, just to keep me busy and keep me talking, because it's all interrelated. We're not one issue human beings. Lots of things are interrelated or impacted by the other things. So I talk to them and I try out their ideas. I also journal everything. I was not a journaler, but I am doing it for this because I want to go into remission. I want to heal. I want to do better and be better and get back to what I was like before COVID shut down all the sports and the dance studios and the pools, so that I can get me back a better version of me than I am right now. I don't hate me. I love me, and I love my life, and I want to preserve it, and I want to extend it. I need to be my own friend. I need to be my own best friend and make those choices, as much as they may not be popular. I don't eat with other people. I eat with you guys. I find groups online to just sit and chat with people, just in general. But there's meetup groups out there that might help. checking out any of these support groups that I might have mentioned, especially if you're American, because I think the sites that I've been looking on are American sites, but I think Canada has similar things. So that's all something to look into. Now, you may not hear me talk about this ever again, but I wanted to chat about it actually a few days ago. And I got sick and mopey. I'm going through the sugar withdrawal. So, for me, while I could be cranky about that in my own way, I've still got lots of water. And I've ordered some new flavors of sparkling water that meet the label requirements. I'm going to keep exploring investigate new flavors, almond waters and coconut milks and sparkling waters. One of the key things the doctor said to me was no dyes. So where I was going with vitamin waters, different kinds of Gatorades for alternatives to just water, I've had to cut that off too. But at least I've been doing this in stages, so it's not all at once, everything all at once. But I did it in stages. First I increased my water. Then I increased how much direct water I was drinking. I put ice cubes in everything that wasn't water. I get my Starbucks and cut it in half across 2 cups full of crushed ice and make slushies out of everything. This has been a 3-year journey for me, but it's something that I think I'm winning, and I'm seeing improvements, and it's been the long run. And yeah, I binge sometimes. Sometimes you hear me get cranky, so I remove myself from the computer for a while. But, and I've got the real flu right now. I do have the flu. But I restocked my proteins. I've remade my waters. I've got different fruits. I'm rotating the fruits. I got lots of berries to still eat with my Greek yogurt, which I don't love Greek yogurt, but I can do it if it's got berries in it. And with the granola, I mind it even less. Got to pick a good granola for that too. But I'm not eating a whole bowl as cereal anymore. I'm putting it like a topping on top of my yogurt. See, we work our way in. We work our way through. Anyhow, that's enough for me about this topic. But I just wanted to say, if you find it hard to knock sugar out of your diet, I know why. If you find it hard to withdraw from it, it feels like you're going through a withdrawal. Verified, scientifically proven. Yeah, you are. I just want to give you the confidence to know it's not your imagination. What you're going through is very real. And I'm going through it with you. I'm going through it for sure, verified. But I'm also here to say it's possible to get through it, whether short-term or long-term. But if you can stick it through and make these as lifestyle choice changes, all the better. And if those rich people out there who control what goes into their factory outputs can please think about our health instead of making us addicted to your products, please protect our insides. Please protect us and don't make us sick on purpose. Please help us have a longer life with your products. You can afford to do it. If you can afford the science to find a way to make things much more healthy for us, please do it. Because if we live longer on your products, you've got us longer as your paying customer. Just saying. Just an idea. Just a thought. If any one of you out there is struggling with it like I am, I just want you to know you're not in it alone. I'm out here doing it too. Talking about it, because a lot of people just don't talk about it. And I want you to know you're really going through something that has real psychological and physical impact. But you can get through it. You can push through it. If you know in advance it's going to take about a week to 3, well, then it makes it easier to combat it. If you know what to do as alternatives to help you get through, hopefully my video served a purpose for you, and I'm really proud of that. And let's do this. We can do this. Because us gamers, we're in this together. Take care out there, everyone. This is Callida. I'm going to treat my sugar withdrawals and my ban on extra added sugars with my real fruits and my sparkling flavored minty waters. Take care out there, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.